This is ERA Cobra number 828. My second ERA Cobra. I had ordered it in late 2017 and took delivery early summer 2020. Car was on the road mid-September, and then of course had to go through some sorting out. But a little about the car. The color is silver mink, which is one of the original Cobra colors. And the goal with this car was to make it look as much like an original Cobra as possible. I think we're successful with that. You can see the sunburst wheels, no hood scoop, no roll bar, which is the way 75 or 80% of them came from Shelby originally. This color was probably on about 25 cars per the AC records, 427 cars, and also on a number of 289 cars. All of the 427 cars that were this color had black interior. Only one 427 car was delivered with red interior, and that was CSX 3336. But I've seen this color on 289s with a red interior, and it's just stunning in my opinion, so that's the direction we went with it. A lot of options on here, just about everything ERA could offer, we did, and we'll go over all that as we walk around the car. Just kind of give a quick view here of the car. You can see the beautiful sunburst wheels, Avon CR6ZZ tires, which is really the only way to go for these cars. They're stupid expensive, but they work so well. Quiet, comfortable, handle well. Of course, it has the bumpers. It's original, the splitter in the grille opening, oil cooler, street car gas cap. I elected to go with the double rear tail light instead of the single. I think these work a little bit better, and cars from around CSX 3200 and up had the double taillights like this. Now, when you get the car, you get 4 of these because these are reproductions. The reflectors are not available as reproduction, so I looked and looked and finally found 2 new old stock reflectors for the car. And you can see also the screws are lined up 90 degrees from the lights at the top, which is also the way they came for whatever reason. If you look at the back of the overriders, they've got the finishing side on those, where most of them you see now, they're just hollow. They don't have a back on them. The correct CNS gas cap that the street cars had. Originally, the ERA had closed this in because for the SCs, that was a recess for the competition gas cap. So that was closed in so we could put the correct CNS gas cap on the car. You notice on the front bumper, the contour follows the front of the car. These bumpers are delivered straight. They don't look right, so Peter has them contoured to match the curve of the car, and it's one of those little details that just make a difference. It really make the car look right. You can see correct windshield squirters. New old stock focus. Trico windshield washer button. Same as original cars had. Of course, originals had ashtrays. You'll notice this is a 16-inch wheel instead of the 15 that the cars typically come equipped with. The originals were 16, and when you see a 16 on an original car, the 15s just don't look right. This red leather, we looked at many hides in red leather to get the texture and color that we thought was the best complement to the silver mink paint, and I think they nailed that for us here. Also, you can see the no old stock glove box knob. Those have gotten really hard to find. The correct reproduction shifter and emergency brake handle. I got these Ray Brown Impact competition seatbelt labels from a fellow in England who had made a number of them. So added those. So from out here, it fools it fools a lot of people. Even people who've been around Cobras for a long time, they have to reach underneath the fender to see if it's fiberglass or not. It does fool people. The mirror is correct mirror, not the one you typically see with the metal rim around it. Black crinkle finish on the rear sections. Of course, it's got the visors and the wind wings. I've added on these mirrors. They're not original style, of course, but they do work much better than the ones that you have to screw to the fender or the door. They're not the best, but they're much better than the other. Let's raise the hood. Have a look. Okay, under the hood, again, the intent was to try to make it look as correct as possible. Correct 427 valve covers with a polished fins. You can't buy them with a polished fins. You have to do that yourself or have it done at a polishing shop. Correct stamp auto light alternator. That was done by Jack at Dead Nuts On in California. It's got the high capacity cooling fan. You can see it's got the separate fluid reservoirs for the brake and clutch. The distributor looks to be stock. It is not, and underneath the stock air cleaner, it is also not stock. So what we have is the Holley Sniper fuel injection and an MSD distributor. The fuel injection system controls the timing as well as, of course, the fuel. It just works fantastic. There was some teething pains with it. They don't self-learn as well as Holley says, so it took an expert. I took it to have a tune done on it, and he works on these all day, every day, and he got it right. It was a different car when I got it back from him. You can see we talked about the windshield washers earlier. That is an original Trico water bottle that the 427 Cobras had. I looked for about 2 years to find one of those, and I finally came across this one in Germany. They are not easy to find. You can find the taller ones and cut them down, but they're not quite right. But this is the correct one. The expansion tank is a brand new one, not a rebuild. I just worried about metal fatigue on an old tank, so it just made sense to go brand new there. Car does have wipers with the optional stainless steel arms to look like the originals again. You might notice the radiator has been painted black, again to copy the original, instead of just being bare aluminum. And here it's got the shroud for the oil cooler. And if I can get the right angle here, you can see I went with the black stainless hose instead of the silver stainless, which looks much more period correct than like something you would see today on a straight rod or something. So it's got that with a 6-inch oil cooler and the aluminum shroud they build. Have a look here inside the trunk. The car has the tonneau cover and the bag here, and it's been fitted by ERA, so it fits the car perfectly. Nice to have, particularly if you get a little rain shower when you're out in the car. behind this panel is the battery. That was an option for the remote, the trunk mounted battery. Otherwise, if you have it in the engine compartment, you likely going to have to pull a valve cover to get the battery out. Also, there's a kill switch up there, and the carpet is Velcroed on. You can pull that off and get right to it. It's very easy. Now, this car has got something a little bit different than any other ERA to this point, is that it has a in-tank fuel pump for the fuel injection. So it's about 58 pounds of pressure, but to fit that in the tank, they had to custom build the rear panels back here for the floor of the trunk to clear the fuel pump. Anyway, that was something they did for me, and it's seamless. You'd never know it. It's just one of those things, custom bits that ERA will do for you. Let's get the car up in the air and we can see what is underneath. All right. Raise it up. Fast forward through this exciting part here. Original street Cobras had blue dot Goodyear tires. Of course, like I said, these are Avons, but got the correct 7/8 inch diameter blue dots that was applied to the tire, so it does look correct also. Beautiful, beautiful paint and body work done by Brandon in Connecticut. Very pleased with that. Okay, we'll start at the front. So the car has the competition 12.2 inch Willwood brakes. Of course, the Spax Krypton coilover shocks all the way around. 2 in the front, 4 in the rear. Braided stainless lines. See the Canton oil pan, I believe it's 7 quarts. And going back, you can see the Lakewood scatter shield. There's McLeod double disc clutch. One of the best things I did for the car. It supports 800 horsepower, but it is light as a feather. It's like driving a Honda. The clutch is so light. And that was the goal with the car, is to make the car very easy to drive and livable. I didn't want some monster that was real temperamental and difficult to live with. That's why it's got fuel injection. That's why it's got that clutch, electronic ignition control or timing control. On the floors, I applied all this heat foil protectant. It works fairly well, trying to keep the heat out of the cabin. It helps. It's not foolproof, but it does help. There are the optional heat shields for the exhaust. Look at the exhaust here. This is all the exhaust front from the headers all the way out the back is all Cerakoted. These mufflers were custom made by SpinTech for me. I told him one of the quietest ones he could make that would still flow good, and they're not that quiet, but they do work well. No complaints. The exhaust for street cars as supplied by ERA is 2 inch, which is just going to choke the engine down so much. So I had used that as a pattern to have a custom 2.5 inch system built, but it's identical to the ERA system. It's just bigger. differential out of a Jaguar. Rebuilt it, brand new 354 ring gear, the power lock differential. It's, you know, just as it should be. Didn't mention the transmission. That is a TKO 600, 5-speed, and the overdrive in this one is a 0.82. It doesn't have the big drop off like some of them to the 0.68. Car has 340 or so miles on it, so of course, other than some speckles from raindrops, it's clean underneath. He already did for me on this car that was also custom is the lower control arms and axle shafts are not the normal length that they do. They shorten them for all Cobras, but since this car has the sunburst wheels, they're 7.5 inch wide all the way around, so they can be way inside the rear quarter panels like the originals, and I wanted to push it out just a little bit, so Peter had a custom length done for me, and they're still underneath the quarters, but they're not way up inside there like you see on some of the original cars, and I just think it's an improved look for the car. Of course, it's got the pin drive wheels, 6-pin wheels. Another thing I had done, and this just from my experience from years restoring cars, is the frame, when I had it powder coated, I had them do it in a semi-gloss black. They always do them in gloss black, which I don't think looks right to my eye, I guess because I'm used to seeing semi-gloss on so many original, you know, Mustangs and what have you that I've worked on over the years. Anyway, so that's why this is semi-gloss and not gloss. Well, let's try that again. Had an Amber Alert right in the middle of recording this. So anyway, there's the O2 sensor and the oxygen bung and the exhaust pipe. Starter is new. You can see the cables that run to the rear battery. Otherwise, the battery would be up here behind the exhaust in a really tough spot to get to. Heat shields, those were optional. Anything you can do to keep some heat out of the interior. You can see the braided stainless line in black and the fittings. That is an original oil filter adapter on here. Other than the engine block, every component of the engine is brand new. So let's talk about this engine. Now, like I say, other than the block, everything is brand new. Has a 4¼ inch scat crankshaft, 6.7 inch rods, so it's a 445 cubic inch engine. The block itself is a late D4 block. It has the reinforced main webbing, and this also is it's cross-bolted mains, screw-in freeze plugs. You can't tell it's not a 427 from the outside, but it made much more sense to have this nice thick walled block compared to a sleeved 427 that you see. You know, it's all on the market anymore. They're just so hard to find one that hadn't been abused and beat up, and I didn't want that. This car, I can sit here in the garage, start it, it can run all day and never get above 190 degrees. It doesn't overheat. Like I said, that's the advantage of the thick walls. So it's a 4080 bore. It has a roller camshaft, and all the engine pieces were spec'd out by Brent Likens. I think probably most of you know who Brent is there in Kentucky. Fantastic engine builder. But so it has one of his custom built roller cams, his custom rocker shafts that are low mass, just fantastic. BBM heads, they're aluminum heads, forged pistons, Racetech pistons, and compression is around 10.3 to 1 if I remember right. I've done the math, I don't remember exactly. But you know, car runs, it doesn't need any kind of special fuel, it just runs wonderfully. And again, that was the goal with this car, is to have a car that was easy to drive. If my wife wanted to drive it, she can jump in and not have to have some sort of special procedure to get the car started when it's cold and all that. It's just, you just turn the key and it fires up. It runs good. The clutch pedal is light. I wasn't really concerned with how much horsepower it was going to make because these cars always have more than you need. But Brent said with this configuration, we're still making probably around 525. So it's, yes, more than you need. We'll walk around here and we'll start it up. And we'll run it long because the garage is closed up. Neutral. Turn it on. Let the injectors pump one time. So that's a cold start. And again, you know, just the modern convenience of fuel injection. Let the computer control all of that. Here you can see the Girling reservoir cans for the brakes and clutch. And that's pretty much it. I will include a list of all the options that the car has. It's a very, very long list, and I'm sure I forgot many, many things that we had opted for when we designed how the car was going to be built. But I will include that list from ERA. But please, if you have any questions, you want to come see the car, want to drive the car, want to put it up on the lift, look it over, check out everything, discuss the build. I've got a ton of pictures from the build, so you can see all of that. And it's just an absolute wonderful car. It was built to be a forever car for me.